Hey, everybody, and welcome to our second episode of the Part-Time Gamers Club podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm here with my other hosts, Gio and Gerard. Say hello.
What up?
Yo,
In this episode, we're going to be discussing what was the most influential game in gaming history, according to us. And to kick us off, Gio, why don't you tell us the game that you picked?
All right. Well, hey guys. My game that I've chosen as the most influential game, in my personal opinion, over gaming history will be World of Warcraft. Um, for many reasons, but mainly for the main reason I would say is impactful in many ways. The most influential when you think about MMOs and where gaming has come from back then to what it is now. Um, it was probably the first game I would say that was a world within a world kind of feeling, and the social networking aspects of the game, including the challenging factors of the game, as well as it forced cohesion in a sense. It set the gold standard for MMOs. It took MMOs PvPing and raiding to another level, and really set the tone for the future of what MMOs have become. And a lot of games have taken different aspects from it as well and kind of utilized those ideas and strategies that World of Warcraft created to better their games as well. It was extremely popular in mainstream culture. You know, from the movie to the South Park episode to numerous celebrities who've played the games, from Robin Williams to Ronda Rousey, Vin Diesel, Jamie Lee Curtis, Mr. T, and Dave Chappelle, Cameron Diaz, you just name it. So many people have been a part of that game and that community. It was an awesome experience, in my personal opinion. In the overall total package of a game, that was probably the best game I've ever played in the years that I played it. Obviously, I don't play it anymore, but still to this day, I tell people it's probably the best game I've ever played because of just how much was in one game and what it allowed you to do. Um, I don't know how you two feel, but I'm more than happy to hear how you guys view that game and your takes on it.
I mean, I mean, I love the game considering I still play Rift Classic, uh, so I'm still part of that world. But I do agree that it did change MMOs, and was pretty much the standard of MMOs. And I think it's just a lot of it was just the open world and the social aspect of having to team up with people of just different backgrounds and just find a common goal. So I mean, I do agree that it's very influential in the gaming history and should be rightfully so very influential. So yeah, I mean, can't be. WoW's been going on since what, 10 plus years now? Is that
No,
right?
2004.
2004, 20
2004?
years, 20 years, 20 years.
God. And
And
now
it's
they're
still the most popular MMO of all time. Still, not even.
and now they're still reliving the glory days of releasing these classics. Classic is
Vanilla
coming out
days.
soon.
Vanilla days were the best days.
Yeah, I never played WoW that avidly. I mean, I play Final Fantasy 14, different MMO, with the competing ever. Uh,
This is a reminder.
Alexa,
Stop eating.
thank you.
I don't, Alexa.
Oh my
Shut your mouth.
god.
Hope you had a good Wednesday.
Sorry, guys. This is technical difficulty. Alexa wants to be in the conversation.
Alexa's back talking Troy right now.
Yeah, she had to get her word in. Had to get her say in. It's like, I haven't talked to you all damn day.
Like, nobody gives a damn about Final Fantasy 14.
That's what actually happened.
All right. Move on, Gerard, as you were saying.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, I played Final Fantasy 14 and was playing the game avidly when the huge, what do I want to call it? The migrate from WoW retail happened to Final Fantasy 14 like a couple years ago. There was a huge surge for that, but I do remember everyone was comparing Final Fantasy 14 to WoW, and it was such a big deal for that to happen. And it's surprising to me because like Final Fantasy 14 had its own rebranding and rebirth and everything, but WoW just like it doesn't have a rebirth. It just, if you don't like the expansion, just wait till the next expansion comes out, because each expansion is just huge, vastly different in I guess theme. Final Fantasy doesn't have that. We're finally getting our first thematic change in Dawn Trail. But as a non-WoW player looking like in from the outside, WoW has always had that impact in like social impact for other games. So it is pretty funny watching MMOs always be compared to WoW and always be called the WoW killer. That's a nomenclature that not a lot of the youngers would know.
That's the funny thing, though. You think about how many MMOs have come and gone in the last 20 years, and everybody still says or tries to compete with WoW, with a game that completely revolutionized MMOs and kind of was, I don't want to say it was the first big game for mainstream culture, but it was one that really stood out. Because we never seen that sort of attention. I would say that was the first game that I said, hey, this is something, there's something going on here. There's something different with this game, especially how everybody was, I guess you could say, tuning into the game. People that never played MMOs. I never played an MMO prior to WoW. Never cared to try an MMO. But being a Warcraft 3 player with Mike, I said, hey, let me try it out. And man, I fell in love with that game. And like you said, like Mike and you guys say, the social networking of it and the aspects of the game just really took it to a different level and showed what gaming can become, and kind of showed how cool it was to be in the gaming world. You know what I mean? Like it was being in a gaming in a world within a world. So go ahead, Mike.
Now my question is, Gerard, since we both played it, what made you not play it? Well, what was you did? You just didn't want to try it, or you just wasn't?
He was broke. He couldn't get good enough computer.
And I mean, it took
was,
a lot of power.
It was. I didn't play it when it first came out, and I think that is a huge drive for a lot of WoW players, because I played it like I can't remember. It was like, I think it was like 2015, 2016.
Oh God, that's way late. Jesus.
Yeah. Because like at the time I was like not big into MMOs. I didn't really get into MMOs. I've always been like a COD player and FPS growing up as a teenager. You know, those high school years.
Halo.
Yeah.
Halo.
GoldenEye 007.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64. Yeah. But yeah. So like I've always been, when I started switching to PC gaming, because I've always been a console player at that point, I was like, all right, let me get into MMOs, because I remember Phantasy Star Online from my uncle and on the Dreamcast that I absolutely adored. So I was like, oh, let me get into MMOs. The first one I would try was WoW. And at this time, I just could not get past the visuals. Just couldn't get past it. Because it is a very, very long living game, and it does show its time. It has not engine-wise improved or changed in a long time. And I think that's a plus for people. The people that like are nostalgic, or people who like that cartoony thematic, or people that enjoy that kind of atmosphere will like that. But I've always been the fantasy type, so like I eventually ended up playing Final Fantasy 14 as my MMO, which has not the best of graphics, but it definitely has more of a realistic fantasy setting theme to it.
And just to touch on what you just said real quick, that cartoony feel that it has, and I don't think some people realize, and I just want to make sure I mention that. That's one of the things I feel like a lot of games have taken from, especially like Fortnite, Epic Games, with the dancing and the stuff they've added. All those ideas came from World of Warcraft. Like every class, every race, shall I say, had its own style of dance, and if it was male or female, they had a different dance for them. And it was pretty funny because, like, I think Mike, which race did the Napoleon Dynamite dance? Do you remember that?
Yeah, you
I
beats the
think it
limit
was
show that to
the
me.
Blood Elves. I think it was the Blood Elves that did that. The male Blood Elves that did Napoleon Dynamite dance. This is why I said like this game was like kind of like what every game does now with integrating mainstream media into the game. World of Warcraft was doing that 20 years ago.
Well, I mean, it's basically role playing because remember they had different servers. They had PvP servers, they had PvE servers, and they even have a role playing server for people that are into role play.
MMOs
Yeah.
are largely funded by RP.
So yeah,
Oh
so
no, you're right. But those role playing servers, see, Mike didn't even start as early as I did. Those role playing servers were different. Okay, that's a different player community. Was
It's
way
100% different. That's the same thing in Final Fantasy. They're just servers that you know are RP servers, and if you do not do RP, don't go there. It is a different experience. The chat box should always be censored.
it is legit. Yeah, I remember characters undressed all over the place, and it was just. I was like, nope, this ain't for me. Let me
Changing
go
the
back to
changing
my
servers.
server.
Go in a different world.
But yeah, that's really why I think World of Warcraft was probably the most influential game in gaming history, in my personal opinion.
I mean, I would tend to agree, and considering it's so up and active and very so popular with the retail and the new season of Discovery, they're like expanding a little bit, but definitely see the influence in other games that comes after a while or trying to compete with WoW. So good choice, Gio. Enjoy that choice because World of Warcraft is very influential in the gaming history.
I know.
All right, to move ahead.
I was there.
To move on to the next, let's see what Gerard has picked and grace us with his game.
All right. So, my game comes from a blast of the past, Nintendo 64. Back then, gaming was on its back leg. It was coming up again from the video game crash that happened in the 80s. And Nintendo was coming off strong with the release of the Nintendo 64. And the very first game they released with the Nintendo 64, alongside, I think it was like Pitch or like Flight Simulator or something like that, was Super Mario 64. I think Super Mario 64 is the pinnacle of 3D platforming games and has impact on Nintendo as a company and every 3D game going forward. Listen here. The amount of hours people would spend playing Super Mario 64 is astronomical. It became the best-selling 3D platforming game for the Nintendo 64, and it led on to even more successes like Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, you could say, established itself because the success of the Super Mario 64. So, any game that has any puzzles, any platforms, any idea with the 3D is somehow derivative of Super Mario 64. Because, like, honestly, the traversal in that game is how I determine, and like it's a little spot check. The gold standard is the mobility in Super Mario 64. Doing jumps, double jumps, back flips, forward flips, ground pounds, jumping through pictures, sliding. There was like the slide in the ice picture. Everyone remembers that slide and being very upset with the damn penguin. We all know Super Mario 64 if you were around for the Nintendo 64, because it was one of the go-to games along with GoldenEye and Ocarina of Time. So when I think of the most influential game, I think what's the game that became the gold standard for something? And I think Super Mario 64 is that gold standard for both 3D platformers and mobility, just player freedom.
Well, I can't disagree with you. I think Super Mario 64 was next level, especially at the time it came out, and just how fluid the game played. The slide, it's funny you mentioned that because I didn't even think about that. Because now you think about all the games we play now with the slide in it, and I didn't even think about it. That came from Mario. Did not even process that thought. But I mean, I can't disagree. Mario's probably the number one mascot or most famous mascot of any video game company as well as video game period. And you saw the success the movie did recently when they actually did it. A movie rendition that really felt like the game, which honestly I really enjoyed that movie. Give Nintendo a lot of credit for saving that disaster they made back in the 90s. Well, not that they made it, but they gave them the rights to make that movie, and it was atrocious.
I don't
But
know if I would say atrocious, but
it was god awful.
It was definitely not. It made a mark in the movie industry for a very infamous reason.
The movie renditions back in the 90s were terrible. You think about the Mortal Kombat, the Street Fighter, it was god awful.
But like the original
that
Kombat.
could be another topic, I'm not
gonna decide, but that's just sorry by. But seriously, Mario is just it's Mario, and personally, my favorite game on the console, you guys know, is Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. That for me was the wow game for me. But it all starts with Mario. Mario is the original game. It's where they created that feel for the mechanics of the gameplay for 3D games, and especially that 3D not 3D, that third person view. So it was probably the best third person view feeling game that I've ever played, especially Zelda. So I definitely don't disagree with that, especially on the console side of influencing of games. I can't disagree. And Nintendo, like you said, was coming off such a high with Super Nintendo and all the success they had with Super Nintendo. So for them to come out with Super Mario 64 and just, again, revolutionize the gaming industry once again the way they did, it is definitely one of the most influential games for sure. I can't say that enough.
Yeah. I would say
Well-
I was gonna say Super Mario 64. With the Nintendo 64, put Nintendo in this place where it just became one of the big three. I think the Nintendo 64 solidified Nintendo as the biggest gaming company compared to Sony at the time, and eventually Microsoft. But like, even to this day, Nintendo is one of the big three, if not the biggest three, because it's always going to be there. I feel like Nintendo is inevitable and forever, eternal.
Okay, Thanos.
Well, you can't think of Nintendo without thinking of Mario, and I think that's a perfect mascot to go along with Nintendo. Because if you look at Sony, they don't really have like,
Kratos.
give or take.
Yeah, but he's not like a mascot, bro. Even Crash Bandicoot was the closest thing.
Like Mario, you can't think. When I think of Nintendo, I think of Mario. That's really it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna generalize Nintendo with Mario because it's always gonna be associated with Mario. You have break off games from Mario. It's Mario Kart. There's freaking
Mario Party, Mario Garden,
Mario Party, Mario Kart,
Mario Golf, Baseball Mario, or Mario Baseball,
yeah,
Mario Sports, Winter Sports.
Mario's in Smash Bros. Like Smash Bros was a big hit, and Mario's in it. Like that's always gonna be a component when Mario's in with Nintendo, and that should tell you how influential Mario is as a whole. Just to generalize, not even the whole 3D and the whole gameplay of Super 64 is just Nintendo is Mario.
Just remember, Mario's from Brooklyn. Just remember that.
Weird flex of
He's also Italian.
yeah, Italian, man. Yeah,
Don't make me pull out the Italian born.
plumber and stuff, But besides that, but yeah, like I said, Mario is Nintendo, and they made movies out of him. They made what's the what's the latest game? I think I forgot what the latest game.
Latest Mario game?
Odyssey
Yeah.
games you talking about?
No, Odyssey. I think it's.
Those are really good games, by the way. The Mario
I-
Odyssey, they're really good.
Oh.
I just said it the other day too.
But like I said,
The brand new one?
I think so. I think there is a brand new one. I haven't played it yet. I tried the latest Zelda one, but I mean,
That's
I love
besides the point.
Zelda.
Here's the
That's
thing.
besides the point. I think we all could agree Zelda. We love Zelda, but
Yeah,
Are you talking
But-
about Super Mario Wonder, I think it's called?
that sounds about right. Oh no, I'm thinking of RPG. The Super Mario
Oh.
RPG.
Yeah, because this one says October 20th, so that's not that long ago.
That's last month.
Wow.
Or last year.
well, that's besides the point. I mean, back to the point of Mario being Nintendo. I do agree that it's definitely the most influential game in gaming history. So I agree with you, Gerard.
Oh, so what about you, Gio? Or not you, Gio. Mike. No, I was gonna
Oh.
say. I was gonna say. What was your opinion on Super Mario? But Mike, I want to ask you a question. What is your favorite Nintendo 64 game? Because Gio said Ocarina of Time.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh. I can't go wrong with Zelda Ocarina of Time, but I to be honest, the 64, I don't think I got that. I got that way later into the game. I don't think I got it right when it got off the bat. I'm trying to figure out what I was doing around that
Maybe
time.
I got it in 98. I think it came out in 95.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what I mean, because I think I was still playing Super Nintendo. I mean, playing like Top Gun and
Yeah. No, I think we already have. You didn't have PlayStation yet back at the time? I think we
Yeah.
got the PlayStation first. Because I know me and Steve had the PlayStation. And then we got the 64 or something like that.
64 was my
Yeah.
first console.
well,
Wow.
I mean, Super Nintendo was my first console.
I was playing
Regular.
my uncle's Super Nintendo, and then
Well, that's actually Nintendo, not the Super
Yeah,
Nintendo.
yeah,
actually.
regular
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
But then with the shooting birds and
Me and you, Mike, we started with the regular Nintendo. I remember.
yeah.
Yeah, with the bird, the gun, and we were up on the
Yeah.
screen. We had it against the thing.
long live light guns.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah, for N64, yeah, I don't think I really like. I know I played Zelda on the Super Nintendo.
I just want to
To the
say an
past.
honorable mention would be the Ken Griffey games. I was big into games at that time, and Ken Griffey. Oh, never mind. You know what, Mike? Those wrestling games were dope, bro.
Oh, I had
Yeah.
a lot of them. I had NWA, I had WWE. I also
Those
went
were still to this day the best
WrestleMania.
wrestling games I've ever played.
Oh, I had Top Gun. It's Top Gear. Remember Top Gear? It's the racing game.
I remember
It
I
was
have Cruising USA. I still own my Nintendo 64 with all my games. So
Your Top Gear?
I'm sure.
Are you talking
it's
about
Top Gear.
F-Zero?
No, it's Top Gear.
F-Zero is a different game. That's a completely
Yeah.
different game. It's a
Yeah,
racing
yeah.
game, but
If you
completely
look-
different game.
Okay, you can look this off the episode. And
We get-
All right.
All right.
Now that we've all let out our favorite Nintendo 64 games,
That's good
Mike.
counsel.
yeah, Mike.
Oh, is it my?
Yeah, it's
Is
your
it my
turn. What?
My,
yeah,
my turn.
what?
What? So, the game that I picked, came off of a Warcraft 3 custom mod game called Defense of the Ancient, called Dota. So Dota was basically a MOBA, was pretty much began the MOBA scene to become popularized. But the whole concept of it is you have 5 players versus another 5, and you have champions that you pick with special abilities in a map where the whole concept is to destroy each other's base. And the reason why I picked this game, because one, I was really involved in the community in Dota. It was a fun game. It also brought that social aspect and that competitive nature that you just want to just ram down the enemy's throat and win. And it kind of just began, and it became so popular that it became its standalone game, and as Dota 2. Which now I didn't really go follow Dota 2 because I found another mobile game called League of Legends, which is almost the same concept because it's MOBA, but not that I still currently play. But everything started off from the popular of Dota, and while Dota may not be the first MOBA game, because I think StarCraft actually has StarCraft custom mod called Aeon Strife was actually the first MOBA, but Dota was actually just the most popular, and it branched out to where the MOBA scene is now in terms of like League and Dota 2 still have a great following. So that's the reason why I picked Dota as my game, because it was very fun to play. It was popularized and it kind of began the MOBA scene, and it just branched out to different games. But what do you guys think?
I'll let you go, Jordan.
Oh, I'm starting. Where do I want to begin?
That's why I let you go.
I have a lot to say. I know. So I honestly am grateful for Defense of the Ancients. It being funny enough a mod for a Blizzard game, Warcraft 3.
2 or 3 Blizzard.
Oh, how have they fallen? But yeah, so like Defense of the Ancients was a great show, like I would say a great project to show that games that are created by the people will become successful. As an example of League of Legends and Dota 2. So like Dota is a mod, just like Mike said, but since it was like any mod created just by a player of the game, people would play that game more than they actually played the game. And it got to show businesses and people like Valve, when they bought the license for it to make Dota 2, that just sometimes if you just listen to people, they will show you that they know at least enough what a good game is. People know what a good game is and what a bad game is. We can't tell you how to get there, but we know what it feels like. And it did give birth to one of the games I played like for the longest time, which is League of Legends. That is something that like the gaming community is very I don't want to say toxic towards, but like has that stereotype, just like, oh, you're a League of Legends player, you're salty as hell.
Why they say you salty? For what?
You know damn well. You know damn.
I don't know what you mean, but I gotta agree with you on that, Mike. I definitely, I feel like if there was no Dota, I don't know what I would be playing the last 12 years or so, because on and off been playing League of Legends for the last 12 years, and it's one of those games you could just come back to at any point and kind of pick up where you left off. Obviously, they're always making changes and adjustments, but it doesn't feel too far off when you left it. You know what I mean? So I always enjoyed that. Even when I took my 4-year hiatus and came back and jumped back into it. It's definitely one of those games, Dota, that definitely showed the how can I say it? Showed the potential. Like you were saying, from the modding world, especially what individual developers can create, especially with listening to the players. And that being like, this is just people at home just making games for fun, not even getting paid for it, but they're putting their heart and soul into the game in a sense by listening to the players and making the adjustments. And Mike, you played it a lot more than me. Dota, I tried it. It wasn't really my game at that time, but then I quickly jumped into World of Warcraft, because literally, I think when Dota started to pick up steam is when I started World of Warcraft. So I left to World of Warcraft right around 2005, and I know they made a lot of adjustments after that. But Dota was one of those games that you just got to look back on and just give its props because it it influenced the mobile world. It influenced what gaming is right now. If you see how big these games are in their prize pools for especially their tournaments, Dota 2 and League of Legends, it's insane the amount of money these players can win and that they make a year, like with the sponsorships and stuff like that. Dota really it provided an opportunity for gamers that without it, I mean, we don't know what gaming would look like right now without Dota. You know.
Yeah, it was also the forefather of creating a new genre of gaming, which was MOBA gaming, which is like we never had an idea of what MOBA could be, and Dota definitely solidified the key points what a MOBA needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it Dota 2 basically and League of Legends had I guess you could say a foundation to build on based on Dota. So yes, they've taken it to another level, and Dota 2 is beyond what Dota ever was, and it should be that way in League of Legends as well. And now they're even don't they do like mobile versions of them too that are pretty successful as well? I'm not a big mobile guy, but I know that's been popular right now.
The League of Legends one. I don't know about the Dota 2. I know League of Legends has Wild Rifts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Wild Rift.
So,
Just
good.
touch base on the mods actually. There's, and this is probably off tangent of the game, but you know how TFT came about with League. It was an auto chess game in actual Warcraft 3 Blizzard game that kind of built on, and League kind of actually got on top of it with using their style and their champions. Just a crazy thought.
Yeah.
Wait, so you say TFT came from World of Warcraft 3?
There's an auto chess.
Auto
Like,
chess. Yeah, it's called.
Like auto chess.
There was a game called Auto Chest. I don't know if it was a mod or an actual game, but it was a game called Auto Chess, and TFT is just a copy of it with the Riot
strategy. Yeah.
They did throw twists on it, but like
You're right, Gerard. I don't know what happened with Blizzard, man. They were they were at a time, and this will be a topic for another day, and we can get into Blizzard in depth. But there was a time where they were just so influential as a developing company and just creating these new and exciting styles of games and different, I guess, promoting the gaming culture in a way too, because with the mods and like, honestly, I didn't know TFT. I thought that was just League's idea. They came up with it, whatever. I did not know.
Riot doesn't make anything new. Let's be honest.
And that's another topic too.
These are all new topics, but like, obviously the Blizzard one. Yeah, the Blizzard one's definitely going to be a topic because we could talk about that for a long time. But the short answer to your question is Bobby Kotick. Anyway, so I think everybody, unless anyone have any final comments about Dota?
Nah, I just want to hear what the people think and their opinions.
Yeah, I would definitely love to hear. What do you think? As well, pick your favorite game or most influential game, actually, in history, in your opinion, and tell us why that is. Or if you agree with one of us or disagree heavily with one of us, let us know as well on why we're right or wrong.
Right.
Or better yet, let's vote who's the most right. Have them vote who's the most right.
Who's the closest to being right? But that's it. I'm good with those. Those are 3 solid games, I think, overall, especially in the gaming world.
All right.
Well, guys, that concludes our episode. I think we all have spoken about our games. Like Gerard said, please leave a comment of your pick of your game, and we'll respond if we agree or not or whatever. But stay tuned for our next episode. See you later, guys.
Peace.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Part-Time Gamers podcast. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And follow us on our other social platforms on TikTok, Instagram, and Discord. Links for those will be provided in the description. Thank you again. We will see you on the next episode of the podcast. And make sure you make some time for video games. Peace.